The flash burned my eyes white, and for a half-second the world was made of hard shapes. Between two trees stood a tall figure in a gray rain poncho, hood up, face lost in shadow. One arm was stretched out. In the hand was another camera, older, boxy, like something from a yard sale. The arm didn't move. The head didn't tilt. It was like a picture of a person pretending to breathe. When the white faded, the figure wasn't there anymore. The branches swayed like something had just pushed past them. Mia grabbed my sleeve so tight her nails pressed the fabric. Jordan whispered, "Go," and Ava said, "Now." I picked up Caleb, even though he was too big to carry for long, because his legs had gone soft with fear. We didn't talk about packing. We just ran. The path felt like it was trying to shake us off. Roots grabbed our feet, and little rocks wanted to be bigger. The river was to our left, then to our right, then I couldn't tell where it was anymore. We followed the blue tape Ava had tied earlier, and the carved arrows that said keep left, and our breaths sounded like old engines. Behind us, somewhere, a twig broke. It wasn't loud, just clear. Like a tap on a window. We reached the small bridge with the loose boards, and for a second the world made sense again. We crossed one by one. I put Caleb down and told him to go first so I could watch him. The boards bounced under his sneakers. He made it. Mia made it. Jordan made it. Ava put a foot down and the board dipped lower than before. She wobbled and threw her arms out. I grabbed her wrist and pulled. We stumbled onto the far side, and all of us laughed, tiny, wild laughter that didn't come from anything funny, just from being still in one piece. The laugh ended when we all saw it at once. A white square tucked under a rock at the end of the bridge. Another printed photo. It was the exact moment of Ava wobbling, caught from the trees at our backs, taken from a place no one had been a second ago. On the back, in the same neat, small letters, were two words: "Nice save." We didn't argue about whether that made sense. We didn't argue about how a photo could be printed that fast. We just ran again, faster, because the woods had started to feel like a game someone else knew the rules to. We burst out of the trees into the gravel lot where the trail began. Seeing the car felt like seeing a lighthouse. I fumbled the keys and dropped them. Jordan scooped them up and hit unlock 3 times before the lights finally blinked. The driver's side door was cracked open, just a finger's width, like a smile. "Did you leave it like that?" Ava asked. "No," I said. My voice was thin. We piled in. Mia shoved backpacks into the back seat, and Caleb climbed in after them like a kid hiding in a pile of laundry. I slid behind the wheel. The seat felt wrong, pushed back farther than I put it, like someone taller had been sitting there. I clicked it forward until my knees stopped floating. We didn't talk about that either. The engine coughed then caught. The radio turned on by itself, soft static, like a person whispering from a room over. I turned it off. The road out was narrow, then wider, then real. Gravel spit under the tires. Pine and shadow gave way to small sky and then more sky. In the rearview mirror, the trees looked like a curtain closing. No one spoke for a long minute. We were leaving. That felt like winning. My hands were tight on the wheel. I told myself the town was 15 minutes. A gas station. A diner. Other people. Bright lights. I said the words in my head like a spell. Caleb poked my shoulder. "Can I have water?" he asked, soft. "Yeah," I said and reached for the bottle in the door. My fingers brushed something under the handle that shouldn't have been there. I pulled it free. It was another printed photo, folded once. My stomach dropped. I opened it on my knee, careful, one eye on the curve of the road. It was the gravel lot where we had just stood, shot from high up, like from the top of a tree or a slope. In the corner, you could see our car door open a finger's width. On the back, "Don't forget TO lockup." "Okay," I said, and I didn't know if I was talking to the picture or to myself or to the part of me that wanted to keep pretending this was all a trick. "Okay." We reached the edge of town and the world changed temperature. Houses with porches. A grocery store closed on Sundays. A dog on a leash walking a man who looked tired in a friendly way. The diner where we'd eaten pancakes the day before had its neon sign humming. It was late afternoon, but inside, things were bright. "People," Jordan said, with more relief in one word than I've ever heard. "We should stop," Mia said. "We need help," Ava said. I turned into the lot. I didn't want to, but I did. Because the sound of forks on plates and the smell of coffee felt like armor. We slid into a booth by the window. The waitress didn't ask why we looked like we'd outrun a storm. She just brought water, because sometimes kindness doesn't need questions. The pancakes lady from yesterday was there too, wiping the counter like it had told her a secret. She looked up and saw us, and her smile made that small shadow again. "Back from the ridge?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. My voice came out like it had swallowed gravel. "Is there a ranger station near here?" Mia asked. The waitress nodded toward a bulletin board by the door. "Sheriff's number's posted, but he's off on Sundays. We got a volunteer who checks the trail lot sometimes. He's supposed to swing by at 6. She glanced at the clock. "He's late more than he's early." Jordan reached across the table and pulled the camera from my backpack, like he was ripping a bandage. "Look," he told the lady. "Please." He turned it on. The screen lit up. For a second I hoped it would be blank, that it would make us all look silly and safe. But the folder that said new was still there, with a little number in the corner that had gone up, 014. Jordan opened it. The first photo was our booth from the outside, shot through the diner window. The angle was low, like it was taken while walking by. You could see the 5 of us, still settling, still smoothing napkins, still catching our breath. The second photo was the car out front. A license plate. The third was the bulletin board with the sheriff's number. The waitress put a hand to her mouth. "Honey," she said. "Not to me. Just to the room." She looked toward the door without meaning to, the way you look at where you last saw a bee. "We'll wait here," Ava said, shaking but steady. "Lots of people. Lights." Caleb slid down in the booth and leaned against me. I put an arm around him. My hands didn't feel like mine. We ordered fries because fried things make time slower. The plate came. We ate like we were pretending to be okay. For a few minutes, the loud in my chest got softer. The clink of a spoon on a glass. The cook calling out "short stack." The smell of bacon from someone else's order. Low, ordinary things. Safe things. Then the camera vibrated on the table. I didn't know it could do that. The screen woke itself up. A message blinked in a font that wasn't on any camera menu I'd ever seen. Slideshow starts IN3. I tried to turn it off. It didn't care. The screen filled with a new image. A hallway with green carpet and numbered doors. Cheap motel, the kind that looks the same in every state. One door in the middle of the frame was in focus. 12. Next photo, the same door closer. Next, the number 12 filling the screen. Next, a key card reader with a green light. Next, a white bedspread with a geometric pattern, a suitcase half unzipped. None of us had been there. It was like the camera was showing us a place we hadn't yet gone but might. The waitress leaned in, eyes wide. "Is that the Pine Rest Inn?" she asked. "Out on Route 9? She looked around like she'd said something she wasn't supposed to. "We're not going there," Mia said fast. "We're not going anywhere but the station," Jordan said. We all nodded because the room we hadn't gone to felt like a trap that wanted us to walk in smiling. The bell over the diner door jingled. Everyone looked because everyone always looks. A man in a volunteer sheriff's vest walked in, all sunburn and kind eyes. Relief hit me like stepping into shade. We shot up from the booth all at once. "Sir," Ava said, and her voice was already halfway to crying. The volunteer put his hands up, palms out, and said, "Easy." We told him the short version. Camera. Pictures that shouldn't exist. Someone in the woods who moved like a cut in a movie. He listened like people were the most important thing in his day. He didn't laugh, and he didn't say the word kids in a way that made us smaller. "Okay," he said. "Let's take a look." We handed him the camera. He stared at the screen for a long time. He touched the edges like he thought he could feel what the photos felt. "You found this where?" he asked. We told him again, at the river, buried near the roots. "And you're sure your car door was cracked?" he asked. "Yes," I said, and heard how sure I sounded. He nodded. "I'll take you down to the station, call the sheriff at home, and have someone check the lot." He looked at the waitress. "Marge, tell Earl I owe him a slice for making me work on my day off." She made a face that meant no one owed anyone anything tonight. We paid. The volunteer walked us to the car like a shepherd with very lost sheep. The sky had gone from late afternoon to that early evening blue that makes everything feel like a memory. He told us to follow his truck. I locked our doors. Twice. We pulled out. The road to the station ran past the motel the waitress had named without meaning to. The pine rest inn looked like the camera photo, green carpet, door 12 right in the middle like a tooth. I didn't look long. I looked back to the truck taillights and held them like a rope. The station was small, more like an office that someone had put a badge on. He parked. We parked. Inside smelled like coffee and old paper. He sat us on a bench and picked up the phone. He said the sheriff's name and our names and the word evidence and the word immediate. For a few minutes, nothing happened. That was almost good. The clock ticked. Caleb fell asleep on my shoulder like he had finally found gravity again. Mia rested her head on her hands. Jordan rubbed the back of his neck. Ava stared at the camera like she was trying to will it into being a normal thing, like a flashlight or a toaster. The volunteer came back and said the sheriff was on his way from home. "He'll be here in 20, he said. You're safe here. Doors are locked." He said it like he believed it would make the world behave. He set the camera on the counter and plugged it into a charger because the battery icon was a red sliver. The little lightning bolt popped up. The screen dimmed. For the first time since we found it, the camera wasn't in our hands. That should have made me feel better. It didn't. My hands felt empty and too light, like I'd set down something heavy I didn't trust anyone else to hold. We sat. We breathed. A siren wailed somewhere far away for someone else's reason. The volunteer wrote down our names like names were a thing that could catch you if you ran. He asked very simple questions. What time did you arrive? What did you see first? What direction did you run? And writing the answers made everything feel like it could be put in a box with a label. Then, from the counter, the camera made the tiny mechanical breath sound again. None of us were touching it. The volunteer turned, surprised, like he had forgotten that machines have their own ideas. The screen had woken itself and pulled up the slideshow menu again without anyone pressing a button. It didn't count down this time. It just showed a single photo, sharp and new. It was the inside of the station lobby where we were sitting. Same bench. Same clock. Same volunteer's jacket hung on the hook by the door. Same coffee mug with the chipped rim on the desk. But the angle was wrong, like it had been taken from the ceiling corner where nothing could stand. And in the very front of the frame was the back of my head. The blue glow of the camera screen was on my ear. We all looked up at the ceiling corner together. Nothing there but spiderweb and paint. The volunteer whispered a word I wasn't supposed to hear adults say. He walked to the door, checked the lock, checked the other door, checked a window latch with hands that didn't tremble because he had decided they wouldn't. Before he could say anything to make us calm, the camera clicked again. Another image replaced the lobby one. The new photo was outside, this same building from across the street, framed by the two maple trees on the corner. A person stood on the far sidewalk in a gray poncho with the hood up, tall and still. In one hand was the old, boxy camera. In the other was something white, a printed photo held out like a letter. You couldn't see the face. You couldn't see the hands. You could only see the shape of someone who had learned how to be a shadow in daylight. The volunteer crossed to the window in 3 fast steps and looked out through the blinds. The sidewalk was empty. The maple leaves swayed because wind exists even when people don't. He said very quietly, "Nobody's there." The camera didn't care. The next photo popped up, a close-up of the station's front door from the outside, the metal push bar, the open sign flipped to closed, and, taped dead center at eye level, the white photo we'd just seen held in the gray figure's hand. I could see writing on it now. Small, neat letters like all the others. The volunteer unlocked the door and pulled it open a few inches. The evening air slid in like a cool hand. He reached out and peeled something from the glass. He brought it to us and laid it on the counter next to the machine that wouldn't stop telling its story. The paper was still cold from the glass. The photo showed our car parked in the diner lot 30 minutes ago, shot from a low angle. You could see the 5 of us through the window if you squinted, shapes and edges. On the back, in those neat, small letters that I had started to hate, was a sentence. "Turn around." Before we knew if we even wanted to, the station lights flickered once, like a blink. The clock on the wall hiccuped and jumped forward 4 seconds all at once. And from behind us, from the hallway that led to the evidence room, came the soft, unmistakable click of a camera lens adjusting in the dark.